My name is Nick. I'm here with Toufii Saliba, and we are going to do another episode of This Week in Hypercycle. Toufii, where I see this magnificent background, where pray tell, are you?
Well, this is one of the future cities that used to be desert not long ago, and it's called Abu Dhabi. And these guys, they've been excelling at growing that infrastructure, and I feel like kudos to them. And they have like this fintech week happening. So got invited by a few alliances and partners and folks that they are working with us, and decided to pop in and meet some new people and validate some of the aspects we're working on. It seems like one full day after another, so it's quite exciting.
So one of the things we want to talk about today is a lot of people in the community are asking when this, when that, when, because there's a lot of things that are rolling out, and especially when you get way ahead of the roadmap, as you guys have consistently done, sometimes it gets, people are overwhelmed and then they forget that there's like milestones that need to be achieved and things like that. So I thought one thing would be cool is if we talked about the hypercycle timeline in your thoughts over, say, the next 12 months. And what do you think that might look like?
Yeah, so given that we have accelerated the plug and play for this spring, we have also accelerated the AI compute for this coming January. The volume of the AI compute is going to be significant. So we're not really saying it's like, oh, I'm just gonna like do AI compute to generate some like images for my mom or whatnot. Like we're talking about like millions and millions of users. And remember, we're B2B, so it's more enabling our customers to power businesses early on. So given those signs that we see right now, and from our perspective, when we start touching those elements, we feel like, where are we going to be in a year from now? I feel like our ecosystem will start getting to be composed from two different crowds: the informed, the uninformed. Okay. I shared the message with our internal group. It gives us, it puts more pressure on us to kind of like do more effort to get people to be more and more informed. But at the same time, it's kind of like, folks kind of need to meet you halfway to kind of buy the ticket, like that. David, help me halfway buy the ticket. You know that story? You don't know that story. Oh, okay. So it's this guy, David, apparently he happens to go to the synagogue every Saturday, and he prays to God. And obviously, if he goes to the synagogue every Saturday, he's Jewish, and he tells God, like, yesterday in this lottery ticket, look at so-and-so won it. But I'm a devoted, like, dude, taking care of things, doing everything by the book, and I'm not winning it. And he has this conversation with like him and God every Saturday for over 30 years. And finally, the skies kind of open up on a Saturday, and then deep voice from the sky says to them, David, help me halfway and buy the ticket. So
you gotta do your part, buddy.
Right. So I feel like it's so there's I've already started sensing like how our community, they're some they informed, some they're not informed. Like those that are informed, they're already getting further ahead in so many different ways. They started like catching on like, what's that tilling thing? Why am I benefiting from the tilling? Why is it important to put my license to work? Why is it important to put my token to work? As opposed to the uninformed, where they feel like, holy shit, this Bitcoin thing is $2. I'm gonna sell it. Somebody give it to me for 2 cents. Right? So it's like, you know,
So,
you know, so it's
so
like,
let's do this, Toufii. So we're thinking about the next 12 months. Let's take it the next 30 days. Are there any things that people, I mean, I know we have the International AI to AI copyright announcement. That's within the next 30 days, right? What other things can the community expect in the next month?
in the next month, there are going to be a lot of marriages. Pretty much everybody who's aware of those marriages, they know that this last Friday was a very final thing of like the audit review. Does that mean that they grant it tomorrow or not? We'll find out. But point is that this has been in the work for quite some time. Just for folks to understand how powerful this thing is. This gives the ability to any community, large or small. Let's say, you've got 524,000 tokens and you have a master license. What you can do with those today and for the last while, you can actually marry them into like the machine. As soon as that 1155 is out, you're also able to get that 1155 certificate. What this gives you the ability to start associating all that wealth creation into it, so it's portable. That's A. B, it has under it that you will get instantaneously lots of ERC20W token. So it's kind of like, think about it, it's like an HYPC++, because this is like the HYPC. It's like your baby. It's like you're getting your HYPC again, and then it will have on the other side of it this thing that's called the R token. Why do you need the R token? The rev share token. Well, if you think about it initially, let's say you own the whole thing. You own the computer, you own the software license, you own the tokens, you have access to electricity, you have the data center and all that. When you have the R tokens, you feel like you can give some of them to, let's say, the AI developer who's going to actually plug their AI there. Right? It makes sense because you want to give them 25%. Remember that 25% in royalties. So let's say you give them 25% of those R tokens, they give you the software. You want those things to be done as much as possible in that fashion. So then you reduce the amount of like signing contracts and escrow and all of the stuff, just like the token, they plug the software, you're good to go. So the W token, on the other hand, it gives you the ability for that wealth creation that gets accumulated over time due to proof of uptime computation. Remember when we said that there was AI computation that we're channeling to our customers? Those are our customers, the ones that they bought the software. Okay, so if you bought that license, you are a customer of ours. So when we channel that computation to you, you no longer in your tilling only do proof of uptime. You do proof of uptime and proof of computation. Remember the three things? Proof of uptime, computation, and what's the third one? Proof of reputation. Wait for this one. This is going to take some time. But 2 months ago, both of those things we were waiting until this spring. Right now we're getting this one in the winter, right? So it's like proof of computation gets added to the tilling, which means, Nick, we did the math with the engineers. The proof of computation adds a multiplier if you're running your machines properly, or if you're giving them somebody who's running them properly, of 1.55 per year to any wealth that you were able to create in proof of uptime to begin with. 1.55. That's huge added multiplier to your entire the wealth that you're creating. So if the proof of uptime, let's say, used to be, by the way, proof of uptime, the maximum it could get is 1.55 as well. The chances are the proof of uptime is going to be, let's say, maybe 1.4. So let's say that all things equal, you build that business and you spent $1 million, and a year from now it's worth 1.4 million. That 1.55, you take that and you multiply it with 1.55, and then you end up getting into a business that. And how do we do the math? If you were to ask, like, wait, how do you do the math? Well, the way we do the math is that what does it cost for somebody to compete with you bit by bit, byte by byte, computation by computation? How much do they need to spend, assuming that the token price is still the same? Like if it's higher, of course, it's going to cost them way, way higher. But if that is the same, what would it cost for somebody to do that?
Can I ask a W token question really quickly? So as these two tokens would exist, the W token is the wealth generation token. What would that look like for someone to actually realize a gain in that? What would that look like? So they have the wealth token. The wealth token is gaining. What does that mean for the average person? They're like, okay, so but what does that mean? What can I actually do?
Well, if someone wants to open exactly business like the one that you started today, let's say for $1 million a year from now, and before when we talked about this back in October, we said we already know about, we announced on October 15th that the tilling, which was based on proof of uptime. Proof of uptime can get your million that you've invested today into that business. If someone wants to compete with you a year from now, let's assume everything else is equal, they need to spend 1.4 million. That's basically what we're saying. Okay, that's what proof of uptime. Given that the proof of computation is added to the equation, you need to spend 2 million. So what does that mean for the W token? Well, the W token is what owns this. So imagine all this W token is one. That means that one used to be 1 million, now it's 2 million. But given that the W token can be many, so let's say you get, 1 million W tokens, hypothetically speaking, okay, or 1,000, let's say. Actually, let's say it is 500. Let's say you're actually able to customize that, by the way, because you own this business. Like, I own my business. I want 1 share. I want 100 shares. You can do whatever you want.
So these are shares in your business, in your compute business.
Those that they buy, and if I buy it, yes, it would be in my business. But whoever buys this, the W token, try not to say that this is not security. The W token is security. Okay, in 99% of jurisdiction, they're going to tell you it's security. The other one, the R token, 99% of the jurisdiction, they're going to say it is not security, because this is like what you used to split the revenue between people that they're doing the work, whatnot. But that divider is so super cool for folks to see, what am I going to do with this business? So I gave you the example as if you are somebody who never ever worked in AI in the world, and now you can set up this business and let any AI to come in, plug their things, and you give them, let's say, 25% of the R tokens, and they're happy campers, okay? Now, if you were to be the AI business, of course, then you get the whole thing, but maybe you don't have enough money to buy the hardware, you don't have enough money to buy the software. It gives you the flexibility to kind of put this business together and do something with it. The easiest way to answer your question, Nick, is first, let's say you own the whole thing. If you do own all of these things, you own the software, you own all those W tokens. If you own all of those W tokens and someone wants to compete with you a year from now, they need to spend $2 million. And let's say you've divided those million tokens to, so let's say 524,000 tokens. Let's say hypothetically, because that's how much you put. Let's say that's the number. That means that today, when you started this business, if you were to split this ownership of your business with those shares, each and every one, let's say they're worth $2, someone who wants to compete with you a year from now, they need to spend $4, which also means that someone may want to come and partner with you, might buy it from you, or might buy half of it, and so on and so forth. So that's very powerful. Now many people, they would be like, but is this, people ask me this question all the time, is this some sort of like those like DeFi tricks that you just like, shrink the supply and this or that. I'm like, well, the reality is that, well, the straight answer is like, no, it is not. This wealth creation existed a long time before electricity. The only thing that we're doing, we're introducing it to your machine. We're the first to introduce it to the AI machine, basically, because we can and we should, and we feel like if we do it for our customers, end up like gaining more, and the more we take care of our customers into gaining, the better we become successful. So that's why like our focus is always like our customers, how they can become more and more successful. So if you recall, about 6 months ago, we gave that example, the coffee shop example. So that's not a DeFi. Coffee shop example, how you create that wealth in a coffee shop existed truly like hundreds of years before electricity. And we're just introducing it to the machine. And somebody might say, but why are you saying the million is 2 million? Well, it could be 1.5, it could be 3. I'm not really saying every single time it's going to be that. But can a coffee shop that you spend $1 million on today be worth 2 million a year from now? Same answer. It could be 1.5, it could be 3, it could be less, right? So that's precisely the same. When people, they're building those AI businesses, AI over time is gonna care about what's the proof of uptime of another AI before it actually asks it any question. It's a logical thing. The more you have a proof of uptime, the more likely to receive computation. Therefore, the more likely you are valuable. Business 101.
For the average person, Toufii, let's say somebody's got an 8-node license, and they marry the tokens here, in the next, say, 30 days. They marry the tokens, they get their 1155, and then they end up pledging their, to hyper PG or hyper pools, something like that. For them, managing the wealth and the revenue token are not going to have to be something they're going to, this is not something they're messing with all the time, right? It's not.
Right. I think for the average people, they receive those, they know that their thing is likely, well, first of all, they need to think about it as that's like the plus component. So it's basically you're already putting those things together because you know that the smart contract, whoever is taking that from you in a smart contract, they're guaranteeing something back in return. Such as like the EDP program, they say here we're going to give you like 9% because we're going to use your tokens or whatnot. So with this thing that you are going to get something back in return. Now, if when I said like most average people, they don't have all of those components. They only have one piece. And because they have only one piece of that, when they're putting this, they end up getting one piece of that entire thing. You see, so initially I said, you own all of these things, and then you own all of those 524,000 W tokens. But if you happen to have a very small component and you plug it into this, then you get a portion of those W tokens. When somebody says that, okay, if I put a software license, do I get 100,000 of those, or you get 50,000 of those? Well, every proposal is going to be different. The suggested one that we put out in those numbers, I think that I shared with you a couple of months ago, they remain the same. We've actually done a lot of math on those. They seem to make sense. But some people, they might provide different formula. Why? Because they might come and say like, guys, we're not going to pay you 25% for your tokens because we have this amazing software that they cannot give it to us for 25% in royalties. They need 60%. If they convince you of that and you feel like you want to give them the tokens for that specific pool, then that's great. Like somebody's able to convince you that they're plugging in some super duper software into their thing and they give you a small percentage. Each and every one of those, they will follow that same smart contract, that all of it being audited. So when you look at the numbers and agree to something, you're not agreeing with somebody that they can change their mind. they cannot. This is smart contracts. If they put something there, that's how it's going to be for the duration of what they get back. So if you only have one component, say you only have the license, you plug the license, then you would see what you're actually getting back from this thing. It says that your license belongs to you. You're giving me your license so I can work with it for, like, let's say 2 years. I give you back your license plus, and at the end of the 2 years, or during the period of 2 years, you get something back in return or something like that. If you give me the tokens, like each and every, similar to how the EDP works, like they put out what they're providing you, and then you can choose to put your piece or not. But if you want to do the whole thing, Nick, then you would be on the other side, right? You put the whole thing, and then you start selling it to people that they come in.
So it would be, for the average person, less than a master node. They're not going to have an advanced degree in particle physics to figure this out. It's going to be very easy.
Yeah, no, master degrees is not going to do it. They need PhD.
Yeah.
Right. No. I think it's just going to be super duper simple, and that's the beauty about, like, the smart contracts. It just gives you, like, binary outcomes. Either works or it doesn't work. But when it does work, it works exactly how it says it's going to work. So yeah. So if somebody says that I want to take a piece of that, they let's say I have 1024 tokens. I plug them into this thing. I can plug them into this, or I can plug them into the other pool. The pool that I already know, let's say it gives me 10%. I might be happy with that. Now, you might ask next, like, but what happened to this pool? Well, this pool is actually part of all of those things. The pool that's giving somebody 10%, it's giving 10% because it's actually plugging into this entire system. But given that this system is ready, that it also enables people that they have license to plug their license, because the pool of license did not exist before the upcoming weeks. So you have a license, you can plug it into a pool that is it's going to specify what it actually gives you back in return. The license contract, when I think 3 weeks ago, when we announced that the audit came back to be super positive. I'm not sure if you recall, I was in Seoul at the time, and that's great. People, they're happy with that. Some of them, they started getting their it's a NERC 721 that gives you the ability to take your licenses in ETH as opposed to ADA. Some people, they take them, they split them, they give them to their communities, they do all kind of stuff with them. Some people, they just, like, take them, and then they're waiting to kind of marry them with the upcoming marriage because they already have some tokens as well. So if you do the marriage yourself, chances are you get that marriage certificate, and that gives you the ability to sell those W tokens or split them between you and your partners, do whatever you want to do.
Or just do nothing with them, and then, yeah.
Just you keep them, see what happens. In the future, somebody might come up with some proposal saying, like, yo, if you have the W token, I'm willing to give you this much because I really need to get into that business or whatnot. So what you be rest assured is that all the tools that the teams are building our ability to have the visibility over that wealth creation, whether you start looking at it from that tiny little hyper app box, or whether you use some of the tools that they're like browser enabled tools that you can point them at whatever nodes that you have, or whatever nodes that they're giving you proposals, and you get to see their performance, you get to see all of the stuff. This is exciting. I mean, like, this is like really watching that baby come together with all of its own neurons and being put all together and forming that tiny little brain, and folks that they feel like that they're part of that brain. It's they can just sit back and do nothing at this point and just watch their thing grow. And if they choose to do a little bit more with it, they will be able to. So it's just it's having the optionality doesn't necessarily mean the necessity of doing anything.
Right.
Just yeah.
So now let's go out then a trimester. Let's go out 90 days. So at this point, 90 days from now, we're in, December, January, we're in February. We've allowed people to take their tokens, marry them to their licenses, run them on their own hardware or perhaps Hyper AI box or other hardware, or pledge them to a facility that has the infrastructure for that. But what else should we expect to see in this next 3 months?
My ultimate goal is having this thing in January, the AI compute. So which means in 3 months from now, we're still here in November, 3 months, that's like end of February. You should be able to see that the AI compute's already been plugged into our bloodstream. This is extremely big to me that event happens. Not that it gives me personally any additional proof. I know the proof that it's going to give me, but it gives a lot of outsiders proof that there's like millions and millions of users that are being channeled through our bloodstream. Okay, so that's one. Just if you actually stop right there and just the story around that one is super huge. Like this is like a thing that it's infancy in this day and age, and it's already channeling those. But what other thing I expect? I expect a lot of the businesses that have been investing into actually start like showing some of the results. Remember, we in Hypercycle, we've been very frugal in how we operate our business, and most of the money that we received from the revenue, we spend it between engineering and powering this Core Excel. Core Excel is our venture arm that we spend some amount of money on, like those businesses such as the Hyper AI appliance and whatnot. The Hyper appliance, Hyper AI box, Hyper appliance, and Hyper PG, Copywriter, all of those. And the new thing you expect over the next few weeks is there's a company that a lot of folks seem to be excited about, and I wouldn't really say the name of it at this point, but it's one cutting edge company that also added to the portfolio. We have now 8 and about to get number 9 on December 8th. And if we end up getting that Swiss one that I told you about when I was in Switzerland, it would be number 10 on December 15th. So look at that. I mean, we're already giving birth to 10 companies in the last 6-7 months. So when I talk about 3 months from now, I want to see them generating some results that they are provable to the world, such as like it would be nice if Hyper appliance went into their next batch of hardware. How cool would that be? Like, you already know about the Hyper AI box, right? So imagine February, when you and I are talking 90 days from now, we actually show some other box that's already gone in production, and they've already get, let's say, 10,000 of it or 100,000 of it that is doing different kind of, let's say, AI compute. So that's one of the things that I would want our businesses to start showing that they're actually doing. The Hyper appliance business currently run by Evan, and Evan was one of us who is the CRO, and he's actually the CEO of that company. There's at the same time that we're doing this thing in Korea, he's also launching the distributors in Korea that they're called the Corator, it's like a curator, and we're not even counting those towards that 10, but they are going to be basically one of our companies. The reason why we don't count them, because they're more like a baby of our baby. So just count our babies, and if they're grandchildren, like let Evan count that. Maybe we should actually, if folks they tell me that no, you should, we own some equity in it, let's add it on. I don't know, but point is that there's a lot of exciting stuff that I feel like in February we should be able to start seeing some of those fruition, some of those proofs, and when we see those, it empowers many of us to do a lot more than what we do today, because those proofs, they are useful for folks that they've never heard about hypercycle. And yeah, and with that, I think you've seen some of the videos of the hackathon, and I think they're likely to come out publicly. They were supposed to come out yesterday. They will probably come out today or tomorrow. So stay tuned to that. So you saw me at the hackathon. We did one of those 5 weeks ago. The videos that they came out of the hackathon, they're quite exciting, because I talked about them 5 weeks ago, and I told you there's like a video that's going to come out. The videos, you get to see the contestants in action, building their things, demoing it, and you get to see some of the tools that we provided them of how they're actually manifesting themselves. And that is at the hackathon that happened 5 weeks ago. There's another hackathon with MIT that is ongoing as we speak, that I also provided a talk with Ben Gortzel on Friday, 2 days ago, with their Open Mesh partner. And that one was posted on Friday. And it's about like an hour, where it's precisely 59 minutes and 58 seconds. And I actually made a remark on that towards the end. I'm like, whoa, look at you guys. And that talk is currently on, I saw it on LinkedIn. They pushed it out, but I can send you the link, and if we can share it with the community, it would be great, because we did talk about the questions. They were deep questions about the general AI and what's happening in the AI world. And Ben would give his answer, and I would give my answer, and it's basically, you'll get to see that like there's a lot of forces that they try to split up great people, but they end up strengthening us. And it happened many times, like between you and me, between Ben and I, between Dan and I, whenever there's like a strong forces, they're doing some things, they're great. Those they misunderstand them. They try to kind of like because they master creating divide between folks. But luckily, it ends up strengthening more the relationship, because they end up building more and more immunity, building more great things. So that's, that talk can give you a little bit of glance of what's going to happen over the next 90 days, because some of the components that we are going to start incorporating is in the ecosystem of hypercycle. There's a lot of desire of having certain components be plugged in, so then that they've been built for years and years and years. And of course, Singularity Net, it goes without saying, but there's like other components from the ecosystem that they might also partake in this. Where would they fit into that equation that I have described? It's basically the AI compute. We've already building that house precisely for that. So I expect some early integration in 3 months, although it probably wouldn't be ready for the public to see it at the end of February.
So should we then, in our minds, let's push out now about 6 months. What are we looking at? 6 months.
6 months, you should see some of those integrations. Yeah, because in 6 months from now, we're releasing the plug and play, and And the way it goes into phases towards like the towards the fully open source is basically open source for those that it matter to them. There's two ways of doing open source development. There's one method that it's highly recommended by folks in the cryptographic world, like cryptography, that they tell you that you keep it close until it's ready, then you open it, because it's gone production, it has to be open. But then there's the other method that it's usually a lot more common between AI developers, where you do it open, because as you have it open, most of the feedback you're going to get from people in the open source communities to enhance it, because you're not building something that is subject to attack vectors. So the more you have it open. So 6 months from now, you'd expect some of the elements that we kept them secret, that they're going to be open source. Some other elements that they will slowly become open source. And the reason for that, Nick, when you talk about full decentralization, if you have a customer who says like, oh, I love your full decentralization, I want to get it, and you ask them, how many users do you have? And they say 1,000. Well, sorry, that's not really decentralization. 1,000, you can still kind of influence them in so many ways. But if they say they have 1 million users, then chances are you would want to roll it into the million. So, and this is when it becomes actually meaningful. And the point that I'm trying to make here is that there's a certain trajectory of when all the elements become open source. But until then, in 6 months from now, you get to see many components of them, they start making themselves open, along with the integration with the ecosystem. So it's super exciting to see that. And we're noticing a lot of cooperation from like the Singularity Net team and others. But we are cautiously doing those things in a fully loosely coupled model. And what loosely coupled means, for those that they are in software development, they understand what it means. But if somebody is not software development, it's the quick way to explain it is like, you have component A, it could work on its own. Component B, it could work on its own. They don't depend on each other to work. And the loosely coupled, they put them together so that they feel like if they both work, then that vehicle works fine. But if one of them for whatever reason doesn't work, it doesn't obstruct the other one from not working. It's just that feature won't work if it doesn't work. So that's different than the tightly coupled. The tightly coupled, you end up depending on each other, and it's either all the thing works or it doesn't work. So I don't like the tightly coupled, because it becomes the extremely costly, it takes more time, and it's very, very, very hard to manage all the components and make sure that all of them, they have to work in order for this thing to work. It becomes like this and that and this and that and they have to work, as opposed to this or that. You get a vehicle working, you see.
So then, okay, so let's now jump. So we've married tokens, we've pledged tokens, we're running compute, a bunch of businesses, a bunch of subsidiaries underneath Hypercycle, doing all sorts of hardware, atom space and electron space things. So 12 months from now, and I know this is you never ask anyone in software development, where are you going to be a year from now? But Toufii, where are you going to be a year from now?
Well, I think we started a year from now. We went back 3 months and 6 months, and when we started, in your questions, like in the next 6 months, 12 months, and I think that's a lot. In general, that's a bit easier to answer than the next 12 days. It's kind of like what Warren Buffett says in investments, and like it's easier to predict the climate, but harder to predict the weather, right? So it's like I truly think that in the next 12 months is that many of that divergence in the ecosystem is probably going to widen, where folks that they're really first of all, as it's getting wider, we hope to grab as many people from the ones that they are not getting informed to be informed as much as possible. And like anything in life, people, they get more and more informed, they get to master that future in a way that the others didn't. So we would want as many people in our community to partake in being knowledgeable, because what's going to happen a year from now, those that they are knowledgeable of all of those components, when you're anecdotally, you said like you don't need to have like a master's in particle physics, and I kind of said that joke of like, David, you got to meet me halfway and buy the tickets. There's certain amount of involvement that people, they need to do that is a little bit more than what they are used to. And if I don't say that, I would be lying, because I don't want to lie. Like we need some of your intelligence to partake in this equation in order to maximize your gain. We need each and every one. They need to put on some of their intelligence. They might come up with some method into attracting more and more AI developers into this thing. Remember, we're giving you like a business you can run. They might, if they are AI developers, they might attract hardware manufacturers to come and give it hardware or whatnot. So we work as a community. We're building this this organism. So yeah, I truly think a year from now that divergence is probably going to get wider when folks that they're getting more and more informed. They're going to be running many of those marriages, and they're going to either be getting partners into them, and or they're going to be owning them on their own. Either way, it's a business that currently is in high demand, and there is no signs of it to slow down. So the more people they are informed into how they can build it and maximize their benefit into their equation, the better it is for them and for us. It's yeah.
Toufii, do you foresee, this will be our kind of final question, do you foresee 12 months from now that we will have had some of the first splits, some nodes will be splitting by then, or do you think that's too soon?
Yeah. No, it's not too soon at all, because we already started this detailing maybe 60 days ago now, 55 days ago. But yeah, so I think it's highly likely that we will see some of the split for the for that first level down, which is going to be amplified by, if you're only doing proof of uptime, I would be skeptical. But given that we're introducing the AI compute, it's an accelerant of 1.55. So remember, Nick, when you get a multiplier of 2, that's when the split happens. So the faster you can get to that, the more. And it's not like you can go faster than 6 months in each and every component. You can't. Like, the fastest possible thing for anything to happen is in 6 months, as if all the stars are aligned. But here we're talking, you're asking me a year from now for something already started 55 days ago in the tilling. And I feel like given that the AI computation is going to come into play, which is going to be an accelerant of 1.55. So I think it's highly likely we see a lot of splits in about a year from now. Will it happen to those that they have no idea what to do with those tokens still? They think it's just like some sort of speculation stuff? And the answer is like, no. That's what I'm talking about, the divergence. Like, the guys,
you got to do the work. I mean, at some point, people have to do the work. Even you want to get a degree in finance, even if it's a junior college, you still have to show up and do the work.
Right. And in the metaphor here, if you were to use back in the early 90s, many people, they said, it's like, this thing they call the internet, I don't want to learn something new. But we know what happened. Those that they didn't want to learn it at all, they don't have email, they don't have phone, they don't have all that. They just, like, literally as if they fall off the face of the earth. Please don't fall off the face of the earth. We need you, especially if you're a community of hypercycle. You're one of the very rare, human that actually part of this thing that is shaping the infrastructure of the future of AI. So we need more and more folks to learn more and more. And we appreciate that the patience as they're learning more and more, because it is not something that we, it's like we have like some sort of curriculum. We're 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 inventing the curriculum as the road manifests itself, and so we're truly grown as a community, Nick. This isn't something that we're building as like, because somebody's down the road, here's what's going to happen 2 years from now. Somebody's going to come and say, it's like, oh, hey, you've got those HYPC at $100, you're so lucky. But they can't really, folks, they don't appreciate all the learning, all of these things that people are doing to build this thing, to become that. It's not like it's just gone on its own. Each person's doing a little bit of the effort, a little bit of that, and you're pushing in the thing together to get there. It's not, it's a community work, and I appreciate every single person who's tuning in, who's actually listening. You're already partaking in this. This is all we're asking. Like, you don't need to do anything more than learning at this point. Learning.
Just absorb.
Right. And if when the methods, they come in front of you, then you know what to do. And if you know what to do, you test it out. You feel like, oh, it needs some enhancements here, enhancement there. We really thank you for your patience in actually getting it done properly. We're building a new organism that did not exist before. We're building it together. So that's where we are. And super excited to doing another one of This Week in Hypercycle, and looking forward to do the next one next week.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Toufii, and we will do this again. Toot sweet.
Excellent. Thanks so much. Take care.
See ya.
Bye.
Do you trust your crypto assets to centralized exchanges that actively sell your private information and front-run your trades? Would you like to buy and sell your assets without any middlemen, intermediaries, or robots? Do you like paying slippage, fees, and having the price go up as bots steal from you on low-liquidity decentralized exchanges? The solution is nodemarket.io. Set your guaranteed buy or sell price. No middlemen, no slippage, no bots, ever. Buy or sell 1, 10, or even 10 million tokens, and you never have to worry. OTC trades are between you and the seller or buyer, guaranteed by audited smart contracts and no human middlemen. Nodemarket.io.